Oh, okay, is that? Oh, you can fit in now?
Yep.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, this one's too little. That one's way bigger.
Alright guys, Mark with Dirt Dog Garage. Today we have something pretty easy to make. It's an easel stand that raises an easel up about 4 inches. Something pretty simple, something to test my welding and fabrication skills. Here's me setting up a saw stop and my Evolution metal cutting miter saw. The square tubing is 1.5 inch 14 gauge tubing. Yeah, it's overkill for this application. However, I have a lot of it and I needed to use some of these end cuts. When you're using a saw stop, the thing you got to keep in mind is to keep the stop clear of any chips that you might have, and also not to bang the workpiece into the stop. Alright, here I am pulling some tape, finding my measurements. I'm going to use a carbide tip scribe to mark my line where I need to cut. And then I come back with a speed square just to give myself a 45 degree line that I can line up with the blade on my saw. The Evolution miter saw has a light fixed above the saw blade that puts down a shadow that you can use to line up your cuts. Here's a closer look at that shadow. It's pretty helpful. I still like to look at the edge of the blade though, just to make sure I'm lined up with my kerf of my saw blade. So now that I got everything cut out, I like to dry fit everything, make sure everything's working good. I don't have any crazy gaps or bad cuts, and the Evolution miter saw makes this really easy. Everything's really tight. It's going to make for easy welding. Once I got everything cut out and I'm happy with all the fitment, I take acetone to remove all of the grease off of this hot rolled steel. Anybody who's worked with it before, it's covered in some sort of grease they use for packing, which is nice because it prevents rust, but it gets everywhere and it contaminates the weld. Alright, so I got it set up on my janky welding table slash bar stool, and I'm checking for square. Everything is square, so I put my tacks in. After I got everything tacked up, I check for square again, because you can't check for square too much. Everything's looking good, right on the money on the squareness, so I begin to weld out my butt joints. Here recently I've been researching welding sequences. Basically it's the order in which you lay your welds down to try to eliminate or prevent warping or twisting of the steel. I find that welding from the inside to the outside is one of the better methods. However, I think I'm going to start tacking the outside corners instead of the inside corners. I think that's a better way to do it. But checking for square again, nothing's moved around on me. Pretty happy with that. So I'll flip it over and complete the rest of the welds. So recently I moved into a new house. It's got a detached garage, a detached 3-car garage. However, I'm building my workshop from scratch basically. I started off with almost no tools. So I've got lots of projects in mind of different benches and tooling for me to build. That'll be pretty cool for you guys to follow along with if you're interested. Right here I'm welding on top of a bar stool, so that's super ghetto. So one of my first things I need to do is build a proper welding table or some sawhorses or both. I'm looking at a fixture table. However, I don't know if I could swing it just yet, so I'll probably be building some sawhorses that I can lay out things on and can quickly adjust to whatever size project I'm working on. Alright, so I got my frame welded together and I'm knocking down these welds with a 36 grit flap disc. When you're grinding out these joints, it's best to go into the same direction of the weld as to not eat into the parent metal. After I got everything ground out, I snapped my angle iron into the steel frame. Right now it's just friction fit in there and it fits perfectly. That Evolution miter saw really makes things easy as far as fit up is concerned. Definitely beats the heck out of using an angle grinder to get all these cuts done. Also, as you can see, the frame looks really square, doesn't look like it's twisted at all, and if it looks straight, it is straight. Alright, so here I am tacking the angle iron into the frame. You don't really need a lot of weld here. It's already friction fit inside the frame, and it's not really holding up any weight. It's holding up a little wooden easel. Here I am grinding down all the tacks and preparing to put the feet on the frame. Also, please excuse my gym shorts. I just got back from the gym. I was all hot and sweaty. Didn't really feel like putting on my pants for this. Should probably be wearing pants for this, but oh well. Not to mention the heat index for Houston today was like 114 degrees, so we're out here melting. Alright, so the way that I've been doing feet, I've just been using these two magnetic squares to basically hold the foot up against the frame, where the faces of the frame and the feet are actually in plane with one another. Because these square tubes have a radiused edge, it's kind of hard to tell by eye if the two tubes are actually coplanar with one another. These squares make quick work of that. And again, I'm trying to weld it in a manner that if they do get pulled out of plumb in either direction, you know, welding on the opposite side will pull it back plumb. And here's a couple close-up shots of me doing the fillet welds. Taking my time on these welds because these are not going to get ground down. So if anybody were ever to flip the base over and look at it, I want these welds to look nice and presentable. Probably could have gone a little bit hotter on this weld, but it's all a learning experience. I haven't welded in over a decade, and I'm just now getting back into it, so this was a good practice run for me. I'm learning new things every day. Alright, so I got everything stuck together, welded together, got all of my welds that need to be ground down, and now I'm going to use this random orbit sander to blend out all of my transitions and joints. The random orbit sander does a really good job with really smoothing this out, making it nice. And here's the finished result of that. So that's where we're sitting. You can see the discoloration where the welds are, which is pretty cool. Also, the discoloration is a good indicator that you got enough penetration in the weld joint. And we're going to do a test fit. Make sure everything actually fits. Nothing got warped. Make sure the easel base fits in there, and it fits in there perfectly. There's maybe a 30 seconds bit of space in between the wooden base and the steel base. That way the easel is really locked in there, not moving around while you're painting. And speaking of painting, here I am painting. Probably my least favorite part, but it does make things look good. I'm shooting down some Rust-Oleum primer, and now I've got some Rust-Oleum semi-gloss enamel white paint to layer over the top of it. Never mind my PPE. It's kind of in a hurry. Getting late, need to go to bed. And here's what it looks like after it's been painted. You can see the easel sits down in that angle iron. And here it is, paint dried and the easel installed. Off camera, I hammered in these 1.5 inch tubing plastic plugs that I got off of Amazon. They work alright. I don't know that I'll be using them again. I want to get a 3D printer for a lot of things, but once I get the 3D printer, I think that I'll use that to print out my tubing plugs. I think it'd be a lot better than this stuff off of Amazon. And here's my mom. This is who the project was for. She's gotten into painting, and she was super uncomfortable having to crane her neck over for hours at a time while she was painting. So she was the one that asked me for this stand, and she's pretty happy with it. I'm happy with it. It was good practice, good rep for the fabrication skills. I really like doing little small projects like this. Alright, so if you've made it this far, thank you. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I have a ton of projects coming up. Lots of really cool ones, so stay tuned.